You come to me today on episode 3 of the Podfather.
I'm Carson Newman,
Tegan Ritter.
And Matthew Fisher.
and today we're going to be talking about the movie Here, and it's starring Tom Hanks and Robin Wright. And the movie spans over millions of years from prehistoric eras to present day, and the camera pretty much stays in one spot the entire time, and we watch how that specific place changes as time passes.
I'll start with my question. So, grief.com says the 5 stages of grief are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. So, how do you guys think this film shows the aftermath of losing someone you love?
I think that's a huge part of the film. We see multiple funerals happening with the Native Americans and with the airplane guy, and then the mom and the main family. And then we also see how they react after that. We see the Native American guy just sitting on the rock, just like thinking. And we see like all the grief with the other families. And for the Plain family, they moved to a new house after that. They had to get away from that area to cope with their grief. While for the other family, they stayed in the house and powered through it. It shows that grief's different for everyone.
I think, grief is definitely a big part of this movie, but for me specifically, I didn't see it through death. I saw it through Margaret's character specifically, pretty much just grieving the future that she once had before she got pregnant with Vanessa. Is that her daughter's name?
Vanessa.
That I see that a lot. So she obviously got pregnant and got married like instantly to Richie. So she had to stay in that house, and she obviously wanted to get out of that house. And what's the first stage of grief? Isn't it anger?
Denial.
Denial. So yeah, I wouldn't say she was in denial initially. I would say, probably denial that she wasn't ever gonna get out of that house, and that just kind of spanned from there, and it went from like anger to sadness. We saw at her birthday party how she was like kind of breaking down into tears because she never got out of that house and she never traveled, and that's where I see like these stages of grief the most.
Yeah, I feel like that she was definitely grieving like the loss of what she could have been.
Yeah, that's
But
what. Yeah.
yeah, and I feel like we also see like what I picked up on, I saw every stage of grief throughout all the families. Like even though you might not see it all five for every family, I feel like we definitely saw the progression of all of them throughout the films.
Hmm.
Like the Native American one, he was in like acceptance at the very end. You saw that. And we saw like the anger when Rose passed away. We saw the depression from the father when Rose passed away. We saw bargaining and acceptance, and I feel like we just saw all the stages, and it just shows like that's just kind of a part of our lives.
All right, I'm going to move to my question, which comes from Very Well Mind, an article about how evolutionary psychology explains human behavior. And my question is, how does the movie show how humans have changed through time and how they have not changed through time?
Wow. So I guess, are we talking psychologically or like literally?
I think more
Both.
yeah, both.
So, I would probably say, obviously we see the changes in like the room decor. I think that's what we see the most in like how people talk. And I wouldn't say much like psychologically has changed, but like I guess the way that people react to certain situations. That's pretty much all that. I didn't really see much change as far as that aspect goes, besides like styles of clothes and room decor, pretty much.
Yeah, I saw more of the physical change too, because like what you mentioned, like every time we switch houses, there's you see like more modern technology and everything gets modernized as we go on. But I feel like, and I answered your question on our discussion, but I feel like all like their psychology stays the same. Like even with what we're talking, like what we talked about previously with my question, we still see all that grief. We still see how they share love. We still see how they do all these things with each other. Like when they started families, it's all very very similar,
Hmm.
and all of them moving to the area is very similar. And it just shows how like we might change in the outside, but I don't think our like psyche changes at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, we see Richie telling his father that it was a different time, but I really don't think that people have changed much. And back to my source, it talks about how our brains are hardwired for survival. And in modern times, money is a big part of survival, which is why Richie had to give up his art to get a job that makes him actual money to keep his family alive.
And I guess we could say that, throughout time, the psyches like do change, but that's throughout one lifespan because of the 5 stages of grief. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I feel like it's like almost like the human subconscious kind of that we experience. It's like
Mhm.
we all share these emotions, I guess. We all share that like subconscious feeling and like moral, well not necessarily morals, but like just that knowing, I guess.
Yeah.
Like we definitely share it. It's like it's what our humanity is, I guess. All that emotion.
Yeah, it's more physical, and that's obviously shown because like it showed us scenes from when Margaret was pregnant, from showed us scenes from when the Native Americans were pregnant, and then it showed scenes of Rose's passing, and it showed scenes of the old Native American woman passing, and uh, like the demeanor and the emotions of the people surrounding those scenes were all the same. Really, it was just the physical changes that I noticed.
Mm-hmm. I think that's to emphasize all of our humanity and stuff.
Yeah. So we can migrate to my question now. So mine comes from a subreddit that talks about how over time we as humans like to put things off. We constantly say next year, next year. So my question is, what does this movie say about how people choose to spend their time throughout their life?
I feel like, especially with like what your source says, that like we see, especially like Richard and Margaret, they keep putting off their lives, and then it ended up leading to them being unhappy towards the end because they realize that they're missing out on so much because they just kept like procrastinating, putting everything off. But with the aviator, we see him like doing what he wants and he goes for it. But that also leads to like his demise, I guess, and like I feel like it shows how like it's kind of just live life to the fullest because when we see like Richard's family and they don't live their lives to the fullest and it ends up in them being unhappy.
Yeah, I think we see Richie and Margaret, they live like they have forever to continue living. And we see the plain guy, he lives like he'll only live for another year. He lives his life to the fullest. And I think that's a really good message. But I also want to bring up that the plain guy didn't die from his passions.
That's true.
Instead, he died from like an outside force, which shows the unpredictability of death and how it can happen at any time, and you should live your life to the fullest all the time.
How did he die? I don't remember.
Spanish influenza.
Oh yeah, I get that now. Yeah. So yeah, I would have to say I agree with both of you guys really because we see obviously Richie and Margaret. They kind of just put their life on hold, and I think the biggest thing that this movie has to say is like to not do that. Really, to completely live life to the fullest, and you can't wait for one thing to happen to be able to do something else. And that obviously leads to unhappiness. So I think that's the biggest message that I got specifically from this movie.
Mm-hmm. Any final thoughts on this movie?
I really liked it.
I thought it was great.
I It was like kind of a hard watch, but I also really appreciated the cinematography in it,
Mm-hmm.
like just the way that everything like fused together and the sound and everything. And I felt like it just I'd probably watch it again. It was
Yeah,
entertaining.
and the final scene when the camera
Mhm.
finally broke, I really enjoyed that.
My only main issue with the movie was that when there was CGI stuff, you could tell that it was CGI.
Oh yeah, it was really bad.
Especially like when the
Dinosaurs.
camera zoomed out on the town.
Yeah.
There was a lot of CGI looking stuff, and in the past with like
The dinosaurs were
Rock,
so bad. The Rock was so bad.
Every time the Rock was on screen, just looked CGI.
But you also got to think it's really hard to accomplish what they were trying to accomplish from one specific spot.
They can't go back in time.
Yeah, and they can't.
Benjamin Franklin.
And it's hard to create props that would line up specifically with those angles or that specific angle.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, I thought it was a good movie.
Yeah, I thought it was a great movie.
Okay, are we good?
Yep.
Well, thank you for tuning in to 3 episodes of our Podfather podcast. There won't be another one, so
I'll make you an offer you can't refuse. Come back for next season of the Podfather.
Next year. Let's go.
Next year.